Good afternoon, everybody. This is the Planning and Zoning Commission of the City of Socorro, Texas. It is February 18th, 2025, 5:31 p.m. We call this meeting to order.
Good afternoon. Item number 2, establishment of quorum. Andrew Royos,
Here.
Enrique Cisneros, absent. David Estrada,
Here.
Julie Dominguez, Osvaldo Reza,
Here.
Yolanda Rodriguez. We have a quorum with 5 commissioners present. Item number 3, open forum. Alfredo, do we have anyone that would like to speak?
Not at the moment.
Thank you. Item number 4, consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion made by Andrew Royos and second by Osvaldo Reza to approve. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any nay? Any abstain?
Abstain.
Motion carried. Item number 5, regular agenda, item number 5, present and discussion regarding the City of Socorro Unified Development Code project. Mr. Botella?
Good evening, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Jose Botella, planner with the City of Socorro. Item number 5 has been postponed at the request of the consultants, which is Able City. This item will be presented at the following meeting on March 4th.
Thank you. Item number 6, consider and take action on the ordinance amendment, Chapter 46, Article 4, District Regulations of the Code of Ordinance of the City of Socorro, Texas, to add the district regulations for A1 Agricultural District. Mr. Botella?
Good evening once again, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Item number 6 on the agenda is the ordinance amending Chapter 46, Article 4, District Regulations of the City of Socorro, Texas, to add the district regulations for the A1 Agricultural Zoning District. So currently, our ordinances do not have any regulations that outline the permitted uses, area requirements, and things of that nature for agricultural zone properties. And for some background, an outcome of the Socorro 2040 comprehensive plan was desired by the community to preserve and protect agricultural area. While the city is in the process of undertaking the comprehensive revision of our zoning ordinance, there may be times when small changes are necessary. And so the Planning and Zoning staff recommends approval of the amendment to Chapter 46, Article 4, District Regulations of the City of Socorro, Texas, to add the district regulations for the A1 Agricultural Zoning District. And on the following slides, you'll see what this language is going to look like. The specific section of the ordinance will outline the permitted uses, the purpose, conditional uses, and as previously mentioned, the area requirements for properties zoned A1, which is agricultural. And at this time, staff can answer any questions.
I'd like to state also that Mr. Enrique Cisneros came in at 5:34.
I have a question in regards to that. So while reading it, at adding that agricultural, under under section 46, area requirement, is that meaning that any lot that's gonna be rezoned to A1 has to be a minimum of 2 acres?
That is correct, but you do have, our constituents do have the ability to request a variance, right? So based on previous ordinances that outline the area requirements, in other versions of the ordinance, the minimum was 2 acres. So we're continuing that same requirement.
I have a question.
And all of the agricultural A1 properties are already grandfathered in. They don't have to meet these requirements unless it's a new.
If they don't meet the 2-acre minimum area, they would have that non-compliance.
Okay. And even if they have, manufactured homes that are older than 8 years, I guess anybody that currently has an A1 designated property should make a note of, hey, this is what we have here, this is what's grandfathered. In case they want to subdivide or do anything in the future, they can show this was what's grandfathered in, this is what's moving forward. Is that kind of the situation, or?
Well, it depends. It's a case-by-case basis, depending on what the property owner wants to do with the property. If it's a 4-acre,
Well, let me amend my question a little bit. So is code compliance going to go in to A1 properties and check, hey, if there's manufactured homes on these properties, do they meet the required time limit, the minimum square footage, the wheels and axles and tongues of the mobile and manufactured home shall be removed? Like, is code compliance gonna inspect any of the existing A1s to make sure that all these requirements are met?
I don't believe that would be a requirement or a necessity unless
There's something.
the property owner is requesting to install or move in a mobile home, right? At that point, then these conditions apply, but as existing, no
They'd be
efforts will be
grandfathered
made.
in?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
If you don't mind me jumping in as well, and I think just to clarify, Mr. Boteo, so there was an A1 set of regulations years ago. It got dropped at some point, and that's what the city's trying to add back in, right?
Yes, sir, correct.
Okay. And I think to answer your question on the grandfathering, so yes, if they were under the old regulations, they would still have that be grandfathered in. There are different other set of regulations on like manufactured homes and mobile homes, different parts of the code that still do apply, but I think kind of to summarize is that there's certain triggering events so that you're grandfathered in, but then you try to come in and do like a replat or something different. At that point, then you may then have to get in compliance with the new, regulation. But up until that point, if you're just the way you were for years, you're grandfathered in, so. Yeah, and I think to answer your question on are they gonna go inspect? No, I mean, if they're under previous regulations, they're fine, it's just that if they happen to be in non-compliance even with the old rules, then they may have to get in compliance, but I think the point of this is not to put additional burden on previous people, but moving forward.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense. I guess what I want to make sure is that that we give our inspectors and code compliance the tools to know, hey, moving forward from this point, moving on, anybody that already has the A1, we can identify them and they're not beholding to these rules, to the conditional uses and the permitted uses unless there is a change. Is there a way that we can approve with that language, just to make sure that everyone's clear on that?
Well, I think that's
Or-
kind of
or-
difficult.
Or do you think that's even necessary?
Yeah, I think you're fine because it's, whenever this, so it'll move from here to city council, they'll do a first reading, second reading. It'll then go into effect after that date, so there'll be like an effective date. But to answer your question, when it goes to planning zoning department, they'll know, okay, as of such and such day, let's say March 1, it is now in effect. So when somebody comes in, unless it's a brand new application, hey, I want to do an A1, they should then be, kind of beholden to the new rules. So, yeah, I mean, they'll have to, on a case-by-case basis, look at it, but I think for now, at least planning and zoning department will know that, hey, these just went into effect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so adding a little bit, I have a question, adding a little bit to it, if we don't have it adopted right now, what's the benefit of bringing it back in? I think the main benefit for A1 would be with Central Appraisal District for tax exemptions or agricultural exemptions, right? What's the benefit of adopting it in per se? I'll bring an example. I lease a lot of agricultural farms, so I currently have a couple of acres, And all at 3 different parcels that are 3/4 acres there off of Bowie per se. They total up to 2¼ acres, but they're all considered A1. Let's say in the future, there's 4 different parcels that are an acre each. I'm gonna go ahead and acquire them, but they don't meet the requirement of minimum an acre, of 2 acres per se, but they are an acre. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
They're still zoned A1 for agricultural purposes and we're farming them, but what's the benefit of adopting it now if it doesn't meet the requirement of at least 2 acres, if it's already subdivided into 4 parcels? Is there an amendment we can do to, instead of it being 2, making it 1 per se?
Number one.
Yeah, I think they were trying to, I think, why it's presented to you right now like this is they were trying to mirror at least the old rules, because I think probably mistakenly got dropped in between, because right now there's nothing. You know, so that's what we're trying to figure out, okay, there is agricultural land, they are subject to some regulations, what are they? This fills in that gap. I think to answer your question, yeah, so yes, you guys can, if you wanna change some of
The other reason why I'm bringing it up, I'm thinking of the subdivision Rancho Viejo. There's new builders there where they have ample space, and I might be wrong, right? Where they have ample space to crop half an acre with water rights per se of alfalfa.
Yeah.
And live on the other half an acre to where they can get agricultural taxes on that half acre and then not the residential on the other half acre. At least in one of my properties,
Yeah.
that's how I have it, where only the residential is, the other half is not.
My interpretation is, I don't think you have an issue, except when if you want to absorb that, let's say, 250 Horizon and you buy 251 and you want to absorb it, or redraw the lines, what would we call that?
Yeah, the same example I'm putting
But-
of the 4 acres right
yeah.
next to each other, right?
But I don't think you'd have an issue because you can get a variance, but where I think you'd have an issue is then you would have to meet all the other requirements, whereas if you have a building, if you have manufactured homes, if you have, are the wheels and axles and tongues removed, that's what, I don't think you're gonna have an issue getting the A1, I think you'll get it. It's where you have to go through these again. Mr. Arroyos, I've gotta run, I'm so sorry. I just got a call from my little girl. I'll try to be back, my apologies.
Do we have to put on record?
Yeah, I think you just know for the record that Mrs. Snow's sister has left her.
My apologies.
She do it or do I?
Mr. Cisneros stepped out at 5:45, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I would say if you guys are proposing different changes to you, you can say, I'm motion to approve this with the change to whatever, if that's what you wanna do. I'm not a farmer, so I know nothing about agricultural land, so I think you guys have more experience with
That's
it,
just,
but,
I think one of the big ones, instead of being 2 acres, I mean, 1 acre would, I think, benefit a lot of people, but I don't know, what do you think, Dave?
Well, I mean, I'm not a farmer either, so I mean, the conversation's a little new for me. But I think that if there are going to be changes, why don't we table the item maybe? And maybe review it with the rest of the staff and then bring it back. I mean, instead of trying to hash it out right here, because I don't know anything between the 1 acre and the 2 acre and the trailers and all this, so maybe it's something that, that we could table and put it back on staff, revisit it.
Is it something that we can talk about, commissioner's report or planning and zoning report?
I believe you can, but, there always will be an option to request the variance. We've seen it for ICMUD zoning requests where the 10-acre minimum requirement isn't being met, right? So I think, it's completely up to you guys, but
Okay, so there's 2.5 pages here of a new A1 code that was gonna come in to govern that zoning. And so 2.5 pages seems very slim. I think there's a lot missing here, especially for an area like Socorro, like, for example, what's being brought up. For example, on the very first paragraph, it says it's here to serve the purpose for extremely low-density residential areas or purposes, extremely low-density residential purposes. So the first thing I'm asking myself, okay, well, what's the definition of a low-density residential area? I think everybody's gonna give a different definition, so I think there's a lot on here that if we were to look at it and discuss it, we could put it in here to avoid the variances
Okay,
down the line. So I agree with tabling.
I can do that.
I had a question, Mr. Porteo. Were there any particular deadlines because of the comprehensive code, the rewrite, that this needs to be enacted now, or if they choose to move it, does it affect any deadlines, or there's nothing currently imminent?
There was one proposal for a development on I don't recall the exact acreage for the property, but we were presented with an opportunity for a desalination project in the city of Socorro that would help to remove certain particles in the groundwater, so that the local farmer could use the water to water their crops. So I think this is one of the main reasons why it's being brought back. Because if you look at our current ordinances on Chapter 46, there's no mentioning of any agricultural permitted uses, area requirements. Somehow along the way, they were lost, right? They're not included in our online ordinances, so this is just to have a reference for what the permitted uses are, right? And so this can also be something that can be looked at for the Unified Development Code rewrite, which is going to be come into effect about a year from now. So there is one particular project that is awaiting for the results for this request.
And that is for water usage, correct?
Correct.
Which is mentioned here in regards to the water well storage and pumping facilities. Is there a way we can help that person out if we table this? With maybe not a variance, I don't know if we can ask a variance to that or not, but of course, I wouldn't want to hold a project, especially for a farmer, for something like that, since this year water's gonna be very short. Is there a way we can help them out with this being tabled?
Give me 1 second. I don't know if you guys. Okay.
Hello?
Hey, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
This is Jose Botello with the City of Socorro. So we're currently discussing the amendment to our ordinance regarding the agricultural zone properties under our district regulations. And I was speaking with our commissioners over your proposed developments. I don't know if you have an opportunity to brief us on what the intent is.
Yeah, I can speak. So my name's Hay Grickerby. I work with Harmony Desalting. Essentially, what we're trying to do is to treat the saline portion of the aquifer that is below Socorro, Texas. We received a grant from the Bureau of Reclamation to do a pitch to pilot program, and we found a farm in Socorro, and they were willing to host the technology. The farm currently has a well that is giving them saline water, and so we're going to treat that well so that the farmer can now use empty 2-acre barren plot of land to eventually start up a grape growing operation. Yeah, if there's any other questions, I can answer. On the side of what you could do to help us with this project, I believe if we were able to have it go into an agricultural district, this would help smooth things over with the other entities such as the Bureau of Reclamation, the TCEQ, that we're dealing with to get this project forward.
Hi, this is, and if you guys don't mind me jumping in, Marwan Bhatti, the attorney for the city, to the, I guess, the applicant on the phone. Could you explain to us, and I don't know if you can tell us maybe what the dollar amount of that grant is, and also, do you have certain deadlines that if your project doesn't happen by such and such date that you lose the grant? If you could explain that, please, to the commissioners.
Yeah, so I don't want to give any inaccurate dates on when the Bureau of Reclamation will rescind this money. I do know there is a deadline on that. The total cost of this project is right around 500,000. We received right under 500,000. We received roughly 350,000 from the Bureau of Reclamation, and the other part of the project is being provided by cost share. There is a date of which the Bureau could rescind the funds from us, but I don't have that on hand at the moment.
Okay, so for, like, to be clear, so the item that's on the table right now, if this was to go forward, then he can proceed, the applicant that's on the phone, he can proceed with his item, correct?
Yes, once approved by council.
By council. Okay, are we discussing any of his item later in the agenda for today?
Not for today.
Not for today.
And if the item doesn't, if it gets tabled, what happens with his project?
Well, so it could impact the grant that's tied to
Yeah,
this
we
development.
might not be able to host the pilot demonstration in Socorro. If it comes down to deadlines, there's other aspects of the project that we have to build and wait on. So for us to not be able to kind of get the go ahead, in order for us to use the grant money, we wouldn't be able to do it in Socorro.
There's always variances.
Yeah, no, but like David mentioned as well, there was a lot of things missing. Like, I'm also thinking on the burn permits. Like, is that gonna go under A1? I don't think I saw anything on there either. On the burn permits,
On the what?
burn permits?
Burn
Burn permits, yeah. I pull those out every year, but I never thought it had anything to do with this either.
I think something that can help is if it proceeds right, if you guys vote or recommend the approval, so that this goes to council. And since we're in the process of rewriting the subdivision and zoning chapters, if you guys see anything come up during that time period, then you can voice your concerns on what's working, what's not working, what needs to be added, other details that you guys want to add. So when that gets adopted, then it's already been looked at carefully. Just a suggestion.
I think we should postpone to look at this. I understand what's happening over here, but I mean, 2 weeks, 30 days for this item to be looked at. And we don't have a definite answer as to dates or, right? He's not giving us a date.
No, we don't have a date.
If you can give me, I don't mean to take away time from the board meeting. I can find out a date for you guys, but let me just call my colleague.
I mean, that worst case scenario, I'm even willing to come to a special meeting to discuss it. I definitely don't want to affect it, right? I want it to help out. There's nothing else we can do to help them out, like grant them that permit while we relook this over, or this has to get approved in order for him to get his permit.
Yeah, so this would be in their favor because currently the way our code is written, a water well is permitted only as a conditional use under C1. which doesn't benefit their development, right? Because they would have to come in with a site plan, all the requirements that are requested whenever you submit a rezoning application. The process takes between 6 to 8 weeks, which is going to further prolong their development. And so I think what would work in their favor is to recommend the approval as the amendments is written.
So we can approve it with the amendments it has, but we can still go back in and add the other ones, right?
Yeah, so while we're rewriting chapter 6, chapter 38, chapter 46, this is something that we can be looking into further, right? There's still going to be community engagement for the Unified Code development. So these can be items that are presented during those meetings so that they get refined as they go.
Maybe, I don't know, I'm just thinking out loud, right? Maybe approving it, amending that to 1 acre, and then with the recommendation of revisiting it and being able to amend it or something.
I think once it goes through, and it doesn't circle back. And the option's there, right, but
Yeah.
it's done. And so it's not our, I get where they're coming from, but it's not our,
Yeah, I was gonna add that if you propose to passing, it goes to city council, they can make changes once, twice before it gets approved, but in the future, you can always still add on things, you can revise it, so it's not in stone. I think the intent is that because it's missing is what is the problem right now. To me, then it sounds like that's why the grant might be kinda on hold, because you need to show that it's agricultural purpose. We don't have it in there, that's kind of the city's fault more and not the applicant. The other thing I'd add, without knowing the deadlines is, you guys can see in the news and stuff with the federal government, they're cutting a lot of things. So my assumption is if you don't get your funding soon, it could get cut next week. I don't know for sure, but I'm just going by the news, right?
So, anybody wanna make a motion?
Yeah, I think we need to make a motion. I think that my feeling on this is that we're making, this amendment is an amendment to something that's already there, the 46. They're changing it. So I'm thinking that if we can't circle back around, then there'll be a variance opportunity when that comes about, right?
Correct.
Okay.
then we're here discussing variances
Yeah, and then we're talking about variances again. And
for
so-
years.
Right, and so I think as a board, what we're trying to avoid is having to do the variance, because we do a lot of those already. Because we want those to be embedded already and not have to go back and change them and okay them and approve them. And so, I see where the gentleman's coming from, and I see where he's caught up. We, of course, in Socorro want the opportunity for the business to come in. I don't think we're debating that, but I think at the same time is that, we can make a motion, since we don't want to move it out some, and go forward with it, or we can move it out for a week, and we can come back again and look at it again.
When does it go on to city council? Is this Thursday or next?
March, it would go as an introduction, March 6th.
If this passes today with us, it goes to city council March 6th.
Right.
And the final meeting, when it's taken to council, it requires an ordinance, which requires the introduction and public hearing, so the final meeting would be March 20th.
The applicant was gonna provide us with a date, I think he was gonna call somebody.
Yeah, he was gonna call somebody.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have called, but I can't seem to get my colleague back on the phone. Yeah, I apologize.
Okay, so I'm gonna say this. Okay, so we're rushing something, we're pushing something through to accommodate an applicant. But what about all the other applicants? What about Mr. Escobar and everybody else? When they come forward with a situation, and we, we need to be fair in that. Yeah, because
That's
if we're
exactly-
accommodating one person, we're accommodating everyone else. And I get what you're saying on funding and stuff like that, but I mean, this is why we're here. This is our opportunity to say, no, this is what we recommend as a zoning board. I mean, it just seems very vague right here. It's very, just quickly. Let me ask, who provided, or where did this literature come from? Or where's it from? Like, who wrote it up, or where?
Most of it comes from previous references, right? So if you take a look at other ordinances in chapter 46, it kind of mirrors the same language. So a purpose, we outline a purpose, we outline a permitted use, we disclose conditional uses, area requirements. These are all standard information that's currently as a part of our district regulations for R1, C2, ICMUD. So if you take a look, it's exactly the same language, but worded to accommodate the purpose of that zoning designation. So it's not necessarily, we're not amending anything, we're just adding it back to the ordinance as somehow, some way it was removed previously.
Okay, so it was put together here within the city, like staff. That's what this is. This is what we're looking at.
Correct, and the other previous versions of it, I want to say prior to 2010, there was a version that existed. So a lot of the language was used to be incorporated in this portion.
So we're taking an old version and we're updating it to what we have right here today.
Correct.
In other words, this is going to be the new ordinance for
This is
agriculture,
gonna
for
be
A1.
the new ordinance for.
Right, because there's currently no guidelines or any sort of indication. I think I've only found one reference to agriculture in our zoning ordinance, right? But there's nothing else that guides anybody, any constituents that call when they're trying to gather information on agricultural properties. So what we typically do is go to the rural estate zoning district as somewhat of a guidance, right? But as far as agriculture, there's no regulations for it.
It's non-existent.
It's
So-
non-existent.
If, let's say, we were to make a motion to approve as is, but with the condition that planning and zoning kind of guide us before it changes with city council or whatnot, maybe just look at it and add our ideas or whatnot before it goes through city council, if we were to approve it?
I think it'd be kind of difficult, right? Because we have to take the item as is to council, right, Rowan? So there's little to no room to,
Yes, well, so once it goes up, then it doesn't come back down,
Right.
because otherwise it gets stuck going back and forth.
We would love that.
Right. I think, you could also, if you're thinking about it, if you consider approving, you could say, well, and with staff to provide further, recommendations, on acreage or whatever other issues you have, or burn permits or something like that, to incorporate additional changes regarding those into the final ordinance. So then maybe that way, from now until then, they can research some additional questions that you guys have and propose some of the changes.
And
That might be a way of doing it, yeah.
At that point, it would be amendments to the ordinance. Because if it passes here, it goes to city council, passes, then we're going to circle back and then make amendments to the ordinance and add more language into it.
You could make amendments in the future, but I think the way I'm suggesting is it goes with recommendations, so then when it goes, they'll prepare a report to city council that'll say, planning zoning approved, but also said, you know, recommended changes regarding acreage or whatever else. And then at that time, Mr. Boteo, city planning can say, well, you know, we recommend perhaps looking at this acreage amount or this issue. So then at the first reading section, they can then discuss maybe making those changes within city council as they're going along. Because the final changes, you know, whatever comes from here may not even be the final thing that city council actually adopts. They may have additional changes on the language or fixing, sometimes they fix mistakes in between on the wording and stuff like that, so. Yeah, because what you're seeing is really a draft, really a preliminary draft that goes there, they work on it. It could also go there and get tabled for some reason, and they work on it, they change something. They may have questions, so city council has input on changing it.
And I'm sorry, just wanted to state on the record that Mr. Cisneros joined us at 6:04. Thank you.
Give my apologies.
No? My opinion, I know where Mr. Estrada's coming from and take everybody's opinion, but I see that planning and zoning approved it, right? You guys are moving along with approving it with your request or whatnot, so I'd like to make a motion to approve with the condition that we are able to adjust the acreage, the burdens, and the square footages, what Mr. Estrada was talking about, as to what size the residential can be of the living area, I'm assuming, for anybody to build a house there. If that makes sense.
And any other, I mean, that and whatever doesn't come to mind right now, you know, we need time to look at it and dissect it and.
Yeah, I think you could, maybe the way to word it is approving it with the conditions that you stated, sir, and then, and any other recommendations, planning zoning department.
Or maybe something we can come up on commissioner's report.
Yeah, that way it gives you kind of a little bit of room so they can, you know.
So, in that case, I would like to make a motion to approve with conditions that we can adjust the acreage, the burdens, and the square footages on the building, and any other adjustments that we need to make.
I'll second.
I have a motion made by Andrew Arroyo, second by Osvaldo Reza, to approve with condition to adjust the acres, the burning, and the square feet of the building and any other adjustments needed. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any nays?
No.
Any abstain?
Abstain.
Motion carried. Item number 7, public hearing request for the proposed amendment to the City of Socorro's master plan and rezoning of tract 9, 10-A, and 11-A, Block 2, Socorro Grant, located near the intersection of Bauman Road and North Loop Drive, Socorro, Texas, from A1 agricultural to C2 general commercial to allow for commercial uses for the surrounding development. Mr. Arroyos?
We open public hearing at 6:10.
We do not have anyone that would like to speak at the moment.
So we will close public hearing at 6:10. Yeah, you're the applicant, right? So we'll close public hearing at 6:10.
Thank you. Item number 8, consider and take action on the proposed amendment to the City of Socorro's master plan and rezoning of tract 9, 10-A, and 11-A, Block 2, Socorro Grant, located near the intersection of Bauman Road and North Loop Drive, Socorro, Texas, from A1 agricultural to C2 general commercial to allow for commercial uses for the surrounding development. Mr. Botello?
Good evening, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Jose Botello, planner with the City of Socorro. Item number 8 on the agenda is the Bauman Road and North Loop Drive rezoning request. So some general information on this rezoning request. The property owner is Clinton Land Holding II Company LLC. The representative is Mr. Enrique Escobar, who is also present at this meeting. The lot size is 24.78 acres. The current zoning for the property is A1, which is agricultural. Current land use is vacant, and the future land use map outline this property as regional commercial, RC. And so the summary of the request is for approval of a rezoning of a property from A1 to C2 to allow for commercial uses for the surrounding development. And planning and zoning staff recommend approval of the rezoning request. And so on the next slide, you'll see the property situated along North Loop Drive at the intersection of North Loop and Bowman. Followed by the zoning map. The property is outlined in a thick red line. The green colored is denoting the A1 agricultural zoning district. And these are some of the pictures that were taken from the property. The picture on the top is from North Loop Drive, and the picture on the bottom is from Bowman Road. And this is the aerial image showing the property. And then the future land use map, the red indicates the regional commercial vision for this property in the Socorro 2040 comprehensive plan. And the public was notified for this rezoning request. Our department received 3 letters regarding this rezoning request. And then the properties in light yellow were the properties that were notified for this request. Letters were sent in both English and Spanish. And then this is a general plot plan that was submitted showing the intent of this development, which is to have a commercial center. And so once again, the summary of the request is for approval of a rezoning of a property from A1 to C2 to allow for commercial uses for the surrounding developments. And at this time, staff can answer any questions. We also have Mr. Enrique Escobar present to answer any questions as well.
Mr. Escobar, did you want to? You can go up. To talk, sir.
This is kind of a very tip of a development that we have in that area. We have an additional 260 acres behind this property. So what's going to happen is Bauman Road is coming into North Loop, and there's going to be an intersection right there. We've already talked to the Department of Transportation. They're already looking at putting streetlights. So then Bauman will continue from there all the way to the freeway, okay? We are now trying to finish the design where there's a 4-lane highway going from North Loop all the way to Timothy, tying in on Timothy, and we're already in talks with the county to extend Timothy from our property all the way to the freeway. Plus, we will have another street, and probably Bauman, that'll go straight to the freeway. The difference with the 2 exits to the freeway is Timothy is before the roundabout. And if you know the area, there's an underpass. So once this is completed, when it is done, you will have basically a commercial intersection on North Loop and Bauman, and you'll have a 4-lane highway with a turning lane in the center, going from North Loop all the way to the freeway and being able to access that underpass. So the traffic that's now flowing from all those neighborhoods down to Horizon City and doing congestion on the city is now going to be able to flow straight through all the way to the freeway and go either way because they have that underpass. So here it's kind of, it's just the tip of the whole design. But you have to understand that this is the commercial component, and then when we bring you to the other neighborhood, you'll see parks, you'll see a couple more commercial areas, you'll see that main road that goes all the way to the freeway. But we have to start someplace, so we're starting here.
No, for Mr. Escobar.
Very good.
Can you give us a synopsis of the 3 letters that we received?
But I might need help because I didn't bring my hearing aids.
No, I was asking Mr. Boteo if he could share with us what the 3 letters in response to the letters that we sent out for planning and zoning, if he could let us know what they said.
So I guess the summary for the letters was to consider the existing section of Bowman Road that you can see on the general plot plan.
I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. We got 3 letters in response to those letters, right?
Correct, yeah, so the letters were detailing for the Planning and Zoning Department to look at that section of Bowman.
But I'm guessing that it was from the people we sent letters to originally, right?
Correct.
Were they in support or against the change?
It was just, it wasn't clearly stated on it, right? The concern was mostly the right-of-way, the width for the extension of Bowman Road, and then something about the property taxes for the property, and the expansion of North Loop, something along those lines.
Is there any way we can see those?
Yes, I believe, I mean, if you give me a second, I can run to the office to get them.
I don't have any questions right now.
I do.
Mr. Estrada?
Okay, so. Okay, so I'll start off with, when you say commercial component, for the lots that are here, that are gonna be the frontage for Bauman, what do you vision there? What do you mean by commercial? Are they,
We've already been contacted by a convenience store with gas station. We've been contacted by a couple of lawyers that are investors in commercial centers. We've been contacted by a couple of doctors that do clinics and do investment in real estate. And we've been contacted at least by 2 people wanting to build an apartment complex. And that's in that 24 acres. The rest of it will be residential. There'll be, of course, when you see the master plan that's not ready yet, you'll understand how everything works. Again, this is just the front of the property. I would say, how many weeks? When are we planning for rezoning? In about 30 days, we'll have the other component, and you'll see that. You have to understand right now, there's a study going on to widen North Loop. I imagine you know that. So the North Loop is going to be widened all the way to Fabens. The road that we intend to put is not a 60-foot road. It's a 4-lane, 2 coming and 2 going with a turning radius in the middle. So to alleviate all the traffic. So that'll take everybody to the freeway, much easier than going down a Horizon. So we're considering everything, traffic, residential, parks, but that'll come in the next 30 days.
so there could be a mixture, it could be apartments, shopping centers, doctor's office, like clinics. It could be a mix of commercial uses there. There's no way of telling.
In all probability, the corner will be probably a convenience store with a gas station.
Okay. Can you give us an idea? I can't see from the plat map here, what, like lot 1, 2, 3, and 4, what size are they roughly in acreage?
I believe they're about 1.5 acres, 1, 2, and 3. And then the next one is 8.5, and then there's a 3 in front, if I remember correctly.
Do you foresee coming in the future to ask for maybe to divide that even smaller, maybe, or?
No, sir.
No?
No.
Okay, lot 1, do you? Okay, let me say that, okay, so lot 1, I'm thinking should have frontage and shopping centers facing North Loop? Would lot 1
I think-
have
I
that
think-
frontage and that address, like for North?
I don't know if they'll be granted, Remember, North Loop is a state highway. So where you'll be able to see that you'll probably come in through Bowman. Okay, because they're very particular of distances when they give you access. So in all probability, the access to the gas station convenience store will be through Bowman.
Okay. What's the time frame, do you think, for Bauman Road to begin and to be completed, like that connection? I know it's probably years, but
As soon as you approve it, we start. And I'm not kidding you. I mean, as soon as we pass the hurdles of the city, he starts with the drawings. And-
start moving dirt, basically.
And we're continuing with the residential component all the way to the freeway. Like I said, we've done a lot of preliminary work that sometimes we should share, and I'm sorry we don't, but we've already met with county commissioners, we've met with the state. We have all our ducks almost in a row. So when we bring a project, we want to make sure it works. So we don't want to just, because I know how everybody is. I mean, everybody talks about traffic. Everybody talks about, are we going to have parks? So all this is resolved already. It's just, this is the front part. And for us, if we can start here, then it makes it a lot easier to continue. It's very difficult to bring you 260 acres in one shot. It's coming.
Do you think you'll come in the future and ask for rezoning to allow for warehouses anywhere in here?
I don't believe so. This is mainly, right now, our design is residential,
No warehouses?
not in that area.
We have your word on it. We don't have to.
We have 1,500 acres of warehousing, so I think we're
You're
we're
good on
pretty set
warehousing.
with a warehouse.
What about Bauman to Alameda?
Understand?
What about Bauman from North Loop, Bauman going from North Loop to Alameda?
Okay, I have nothing to do with that. That's something that I think eventually the city's gonna have to widen as the city grows, but at least you have the major component that is actually, you've been trying for a long time to get out to the freeway, okay? This not only gives you an out, it gives you an out before the turnaround, which is ginormous, because the people will not go out if they have to drive all the way to Clint to turn around. So that tie-in with Timothy is incredible, because then you get the roundabout. So you don't have to go down to Horizon Boulevard. You go straight, turn around, and you're back on the road to downtown El Paso. So this is actually a very, very, very good thing for the city of Socorro.
And this is all privately funded. The
We
city
own
of Socorro
everything.
isn't
We
paying.
own everything. We are gonna build it ourselves, and it's gonna be done.
Okay, city of Socorro isn't paying for, they're not contributing anything.
Unless you wanna help, but no, we're doing it ourselves.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? No, we're good?
That's it.
No.
I have a question for Mr. Botero. So when does the city of Socorro expect to get to the intersection of Bauman and North Loop with that expansion and to accommodate this commercial area that is gonna be swinging up right there? I mean, they're gonna move fast, so when is the city of Socorro gonna get to that point right there, to that intersection? Because we have to widen the North Loop. Do we have an idea of when that might happen?
I mean, that goes back to North Loop being property of TxDOT, so that's at their discretion, but the portion for Bowman is, as we see the applications to rezone and to plat the properties, that's where the sections or the connections that are gonna be made to the gateway and to the I-10, right, we're gonna see the dedications for the Bowman extension going north, connecting to I-10 on the plat. So, I mean,
We don't know.
there's no definitive date, right, but as Mr. Escobar mentioned, they're ready to move forward. This is the catalyst in that development.
Okay, and so we don't also, the city doesn't have a future plan to go from North Loop to, across the railroad tracks to Alameda. Because once that road opens, it's gonna start going that way, on that one lane. And so I'm thinking that for the residents of Socorro in that area, is that you're gonna have more traffic in front of the school and all of that area right there. So what does the city do in order to push that and to make that happen to accommodate the residents of that area right there?
I mean, that could be something that could be studied with a traffic impact analysis to see how these developments are going to impact the existing neighborhoods, right? I mean, it's very difficult because at the end of the day, those properties are private properties, and so you know, it takes a lot of engineering work, a lot of property acquisition. There's a process, you know, that could be years. I can't speak to as far as like the budget for the city, but the process that would entail, I mean, it would be
But I do want to clarify something. We're not building,
If you could speak into the microphone, please.
okay, we're not building on North Loop. We're not adding any homes to North Loop. So the traffic that already exists, we're not gonna increment the traffic that already exists. On the contrary, we're gonna give them another out. Okay, so actually, all those people that live around the area will see less traffic. They'll see more support going toward the freeway. So it's not like it's gonna get more congested. On the contrary, it's gonna get more open because they'll have a 4-lane highway going to the freeway, where right now, they're all driving down North Loop, going to Horizon. So it'll be clearer streets.
Thank you.
So I'm looking at the whole picture, right? I live around there and stuff, so I know the headaches on that traffic that we have there in the mornings, and I think this is a great idea, and you've got to start somewhere, so there's no more questions. I'd like,
I do have one question. So I see a lot of new faces out in the crowd. Sometimes residents don't know you've got to sign up to speak first, and then the presentation happens. I don't know if the commission's is open to opening up a public forum to see if anybody has any questions.
we did. Okay, go ahead, ma'am, if you want to stand up and
So
state your name.
I think we have to make a motion and
Oh.
give her 3
To open
minutes
up
is
the
usually
public-
the,
Do we have to open a public hearing again?
Yeah, if you want to make a motion to reopen public hearing and then recognize the speaker, give her 3 minutes or whatever you think is appropriate.
I'll make a motion to open up public hearing at 6:29. And we'll go ahead and give her about
she-
3 minutes to speak, and then we'll go from there.
All those in favor of the motion?
aye.
Any nays?
Hi, I'm Jessica Calvillo.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
give me a quick second. Motion passed. Thank you.
We have lived on McAdoo for about 35 years. My mother just got this letter a couple of weeks ago. My mother is blind, so I don't live here. I live in Rome, Texas. Could somebody please explain this? Because it means, to me, it seems that she has to relocate. Her house is less than 5 years old, but we have been in the neighborhood for 35 years. I mean, what are you gonna do with everyone that lives in that neighborhood? Because it is a half an acre per person there. You guys are just seeing it as another object, but people have lives there. Do you take that into consideration?
We can get to that question a little bit. Do you have any other questions, Ms. Trejo?
Yeah, if you could explain this map, like
Okay.
where exactly it's gonna be.
Okay, we'll answer that. We'll give the developer an opportunity and city staff to answer that. Is there anybody else that has any other questions? No? Okay. We'll make sure to answer that.
So, I'm sorry, so
If you want-
McAdoo sounds familiar, but, I mean, do you see it on the map, or?
So I literally just drove by there to
Do
go.
we have to close the meeting?
I think we do.
Yes,
So
please.
maybe you
So
guys wanna
let me-
hold her up there to answer and ask questions back and forth, no?
So we're gonna explain to her.
Yeah,
how-
explain to her, and then if she has any additional questions, just keep her up there now. I would say.
Yeah, it's up to you, I guess, I mean, you can, well, number one is you can ask me if there's anybody else that wanted to speak. Since you were at the public hearing, you can close it, and then I think, you know, you can then answer questions, and if you have further questions, you can call anybody else that you want to, but.
So I guess, let's answer that, and if anybody has any other questions, we'll give an opportunity to come up. But Mr. Botella, just to be clear, no houses are gonna be torn down, existing properties lines are gonna stay the same, so that nobody should be worried about any type of eminent domain situations, so your property's gonna be fine. I mean, there's nothing gonna be.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
We're not touching any existing neighborhoods. We're not going through any neighborhoods. We're not tying in streets of existing neighborhoods. This is totally independent. Everything else stays the same. The only thing that's going to happen is the people that live there now have a better access to the freeway. Everything else that's coming is new, has nothing to do with tying in, going through neighborhoods, accessing other neighborhoods. None of that. This is completely a new avenue going from North Loop to Timothy to the freeway. If everything is open land, there's nothing there. No tie-ins, no access to neighborhood, no.
And it's currently agricultural.
Correct, and
Yeah.
I'd like to add a little bit, maybe your question, if you'd like to step up here, ma'am, as well. To explain it a little bit more, why you were notified is because residents around the area have to be notified. It doesn't mean that they're gonna do anything with your land. The only land that's gonna be touched is what is what is highlighted in red to what my paper has, which is agricultural land. So what's gonna happen is Bauman will now be extended north towards I-10 and hopefully be connecting to Timothy. Everybody on the west side of Mi Mercadito, which is the grocery store there, is not gonna be affected. This is only gonna be a benefit because that agricultural land will now be developed into commercial, which is the land in between the ranch. If we're on Bauman, the ranch to the right-hand side, and I'm assuming you guys are on the left-hand side, which is the neighborhood behind Mi Mercadito, correct? Yes, so our little area would be the yellow one. Correct, and the reason why you all got notified is because, like you're just doing right now, you guys can speak up and have any concerns, and we're here to try to explain it the best we can. Nothing's gonna be done to your property, there's not gonna be your property touched or anything. If anything, they're publicly stating that they will be creating new commercial development there, along with the 4-lane highway and a middle turning lane going towards I-10. So it'll relieve any traffic within North Loop and Bauman area rather than having to go all the way to Horizon. Definitely, and the why you see it in yellow is because you were notified. The only property being touched is what is in red, which they are the owners to, which is all vacant land currently and farmed land.
And if I can expand, because it's commercial, then everything that's on your neighborhood has to have a 6-foot rock wall fence that we have. So you won't even be able to cross into the commercial, or you have to come down North Loop and then go inbound. So your neighborhood is actually gonna get a 6-foot rock wall all
Around. This will definitely be a benefit, and I understand the concern, and like Mr. Cisneros said, a lot of people don't understand also that they can come up and speak, but you were just notified because there will be a change if this gets passed within surrounding area in your proximity of neighborhood. No problem.
And
you for
another
coming.
thing, just in the future or whatnot, usually when we have these meetings or whatnot, they'll have public hearing, which you can sign up for and speak on any item that you guys want.
So,
Okay.
I don't live here,
Oh.
my mom that lives here, so I was here for
Yes, ma'am.
no, you
Thank
can
you
tell
for
her to be at peace, her property will not be touched whatsoever
Yeah.
as of now.
Thank you.
No problem.
Anybody else have any questions about this item? No?
Oh, Mr. Estrada?
So regarding the rock wall you were referencing, will the developer be building it during development, or will it be built by whoever purchases each part? Like, so for example, when one of the lots is sold, whoever buys that lot will be responsible for their own rock wall?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. As they develop, the requirement is any abutting commercial land to residential has to have a 6-foot rock wall.
Yeah,
on-site ponding, sidewalks, they've got to meet all the requirements.
That's stated in the supplemental regulations for chapter 46. Anytime there's a proposed, or whenever a residential property is abutting a commercial property, manufacturing, ICMUD, there's a requirement to construct either a rock wall or a certain requirement.
Oh,
So I also think that what is most confusing is, I don't think the young lady has a copy of this, where it outlines where the red is the commercial and the yellow shows the residential properties. And I think maybe if they would have got this, I think that it's pretty distinctive right there that it's not gonna touch their properties. So if you want my copy, I will let you have this, okay?
Anybody else have any questions from the,
I'm ready to make a motion.
no? Well, let me, we've got to close we'll close public hearing at 6:37. Okay.
I'd like to make a motion for approval.
Oh, wait, but she's got a second, closing.
Oh, you're absolutely right. Thank you for that. Sorry about that.
Okay. Do I have a motion for item number 8?
No, yes, but aren't,
We
we
have
have to
to-
close public hearing, no? We're closing public hearing.
Yes, you already closed it at 6:37.
Okay.
Yes.
You don't need a second?
No,
No?
for them,
Okay.
no.
All
So
right.
we would be moving to item number 8. Do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a motion for approval.
I'd second.
I have a motion made by Enrique Cisneros, second by Andrew Arroyos to approve. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
aye.
Any nays? Any abstain? Motion carried. Item number 9, public hearing request for the proposed amendment to the City of Socorro's master plan and rezoning of tract 10-J, Block 3, Socorro Grant, located at 10971 East Burt Road, Socorro, Texas, from A1 agricultural to R2 medium density residential to allow for the development of a single residential subdivision. Mr. Arroyos?
You open public hearing at 6:39.
We do not have nobody that would like to speak.
We will close public hearing at 6:39.
Thank you. Item number 10, consider and take action on the proposed amendment to the City of Socorro's master plan and rezoning of tract 10-J, Block 3, Socorro Grant, located at 10971 East Bird Road, Socorro, Texas, from A1 agricultural to R2 medium density residential to allow for the development of a single-family residential subdivision. Mr. Botello?
Excuse me, Mr. Luther, before we start, I'd like to abstain myself from this item on this agenda just because of the relationship with the owner.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Item number 10 on the agenda is the rezoning request at 10971 East Burt Road. So some general information on this rezoning request. The property owners are the Bowling Brothers Development Company, LLC. The representative is Mr. Enrique Escobar. The lot size for this property is 5.165 acres. The current zoning for the property is A1, which is agricultural. Current land use is residential/agricultural. And the future land use map has this area designated as rural residential. And so the summary of the request is for approval of a rezoning of a property from A1 to R2 to allow for the development of a single-family residential subdivision. And planning and zoning staff recommend approval of the rezoning request. So on the next slide, you'll see the location map. This property is situated along East Burt Road, within close vicinity to Range War Court. And on the zoning map, you'll see that the property is outlined in the thick red line. Once again, the green within the property denotes the A1 agricultural zoning district. These are some pictures that were taken from Eastburt Road. The top picture shows the residential property, and the bottom picture shows the current agricultural, followed by the aerial image. And as previously stated, the future land use map has this property designated as rural residential. And this is the public notice map. The property requesting the rezoning is in blue, light blue. The properties that were notified for this rezoning request are in light green. One person did voice their opposition of the rezoning request at the Planning and Zoning Office. And these are the letters that were sent in English and in Spanish for this rezoning request. And then the next slide, you'll see the general plot plan showing the intent of this development, which is to establish the single-family residential lots. So once again, the request is for approval of the rezoning of a property from A1 to R2 to allow for the development of a single-family residential subdivision. And at this time, staff can answer any questions.
So Mr. Estrada is co-chair.
What's that?
You're the co-chair.
The
So-
culture?
Yeah, so you run the meeting then.
That's right. Okay, so I'm completely lost. What's
So
next?
it's item 10. It's the last thing
Well,
on the,
I'm following that, but, okay, so public comment?
so I guess, again, because there's new faces in the crowd, I would like to make a motion to ask to see if anybody wants to speak on this item. And in the meantime, ask Mr. Boteo, the person that they called about this item?
They came to our office.
Is that person here?
I
Don't
would not
remember.
be able
Yeah.
to, no, I wouldn't.
But I'm guessing, were they in favor or in opposition of the motion, or
Yep.
of the development?
I believe they were voicing their opposition for the rezoning.
So, does anybody want to speak on this item in the public? Okay. Seeing that there's somebody in the public, I'd like to make a motion to open public forum and give each person that wants to speak on it 3 minutes to speak.
Second.
All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstain? Motion carried.
If you can go to and speak into the mic and give us your name, please.
I'm sorry, Mr. Estrada, if you could please open public hearing, please?
Public hearing opened at 6:44.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ana Ordóñez, and my question is, what are they planning to do in there? What are their plans?
Any other questions?
Are they intending to make it an LLC, or is it a business?
They're going to be primary residential homes. So R2 basically means that they have to be at least 6,000 square feet each. They have to plan for on-site ponding. They have to plan on the sidewalks. There's a certain number of criteria they have to meet, very similar to any new development that's come to the city.
So they're planning to do like apartments in there?
No, single-family homes. According to the documentation,
If
it's,
it's 18 lots?
yeah.
Are they trying to divide it in different family units, or
Mhm.
how many?
So in that window, or that page, my eyesight's not great, but maybe the developer can ask those questions specifically.
I'm the husband.
Okay.
Okay, the question is,
And I'm sorry, if you could please state your name and speak into the microphone, please.
I did it, I'm loud.
Yes, if you could just state your name, please, for the record. Thank you.
It's because we have people watching on YouTube and we just,
My name is Cesar Ordóñez. I live right in front of that property, okay? My question is, what was the plan on that property? Now, they told me that it was gonna be single homes, 17 of them, right? Okay, the problem is, on that, are they gonna connect Bird Road all the way up through that neighborhood? Okay, there's a problem right there on Burt Road, and it happened already twice with a water district. We had a sewage backup, and right there, we had a sewage backup, and it was bad the first year. That happened 2 years ago, and we just had 2 months ago another sewage backup. Is a water district doing something about it? No, they don't. They're not doing anything. There was damage to my house on that, okay? So with that said, there's a lot of traffic on that road. So there's gonna be, again, we're gonna have that damage again on that.
When we first moved to that,
If you could speak into the mic, I'm so sorry.
when we first moved there, we moved there for the reason that it was just for a family unit. We don't want more than probably 2 more in that property, family units in there, because it's a dead end. And
Yeah,
we
the
don't,
road is a dead end.
it's just a little traffic place to maneuver there.
And not only that, also,
It'll be a lot of issues,
Yes,
bringing
first
a lot of
responders.
people into that area because there's no.
very narrow street. There was already a kid at the end, North Loop and Bird Road, that got killed, 10 years ago, 7 years ago. He got killed right there.
It's a lot of traffic.
A year ago, there was a shootout where a guy who was chased right there into Bird Road, and they had the police department and everything shoot out right in front of my house, right there. They had a shootout. So it's pretty complicated. Now, if they're gonna do that,
They're planning to do business there, and that was not the reason that other people that live there, it's really peaceful right now. We don't need any of those
yeah, we have,
business coming to that little neighborhood because it's just really small.
that road
And
is
that will
really
make
small.
a lot of traffic there.
Can you check
Unless
the,
they plan to fix also Bird Road, I mean, right, make it wider, I don't know. I
Okay,
mean,
we're gonna-
it's really narrow.
time? Can you check time? Okay. There you go.
I don't
Okay,
think it'll be good for the few neighbor people that live there already.
okay, we're gonna see if we can answer your questions here, okay?
Alright, thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Okay.
And-
Anyone else for public hearing?
He's the owner, you're the owner? Part of it?
He's gonna answer your question.
Okay, anyone else for public hearing?
I
Okay,
I'm going to speak as a public,
okay, it's loud, correct? Yeah, okay, go ahead, Mr. Escobar.
okay, there's a neighborhood being built right now. Next door is called Horizon Park Unit 1, and there's Horizon Park Unit 2. There's a total of
So,
200 homes.
Mr. Escobar, if you could give us a minute, he's trying to answer your questions real quick. Go ahead.
So there's a total of 200 homes already being built. We actually made a connection on the sewer through Horizon Boulevard on the other side of Horizon. These 18 homes are gonna be connected into the neighborhood, not into Burt Road, okay? So the access for the sewer is going to go backwards and go to Horizon to the main. The other thing is the neighborhood that's presently being built has a secondary exit on Thunder Road, which is right adjacent to this. The reason we look for a second out is because Thunder Road is substandard. The easement does not allow for a 60-foot right-of-way. So when we found this property, we incorporated a 60-foot right-of-way exactly for that, for emergency vehicles to come around. If something happens at the entrance, they can come through Vaquera Road into the back of Burt. So there's more connectivity, there's gonna be all the utilities, and as more people move into the neighborhood, then there probably could be an upgrade to Burt. It's a wide street, but it needs sidewalks and needs curbs. But what we're there to do is not to take away, but to enhance. And I think that's what we're doing.
Question, can you restate that you said the sewer will not connect to Burt. On the other hand, it'll connect to the new development, and the entrance will be through Thunder. I don't see Thunder on the map. Can you tell me where about is Thunder?
There's a little, where you see this property,
Correct?
and am I correct in the name? What's the road?
Because I see Range War.
Range War?
Uh-huh.
And if you go to the end of Range War,
Yep.
there's a little alleyway,
Uh-huh.
and that connects to the back of Horizon Park Unit 1.
Okay, I
And
see
that is
that.
substandard.
Okay,
So since we can't get the easement, we look for a different out. So we look to build this new road coming out of the neighborhood. Instead of having people drive through substandard roads, there's gonna be a 60-foot right-of-way with sidewalks, road, everything else. There's gonna be ponding, so no water's coming into Burt. On the contrary, now it's going backwards into the neighborhood because we have storm sewer. So, like I said, we're enhancing the area. Now they're gonna have a different access. So if something happens where there's an accident on Burt and somebody needs emergency services on the back of it, where right now it's a dead end and it would be blocked, now they can come around Vaquera and into their neighborhood.
Vaquera will be a new street coming through the back.
Vaquera is the brand-new street that goes into Horizon Boulevard.
Correct, okay. And that one will be coming around the development to the dead end of Burt Road, or will that be an easement bought through Range War?
That'll be coming in and then turning all the way into Burt.
Okay.
But the main out is Fernando Vaquera, that's his name, right? Fernando Vaquera Road is the main out to Horizon.
Okay, Burt Road, just to make sure, I think you said is a 60-foot easement right now, it's 60-foot
It's
right
60
away.
It's 60, but I don't think it has sidewalks or.
It doesn't have sidewalks or anything. Okay, and so the developer, you're not touching that. You're gonna,
We're, on our piece, we're putting curbs and sidewalks.
on what we're looking at, on the 5 acres,
what you're
yeah.
looking at, yes.
But you're gonna butt into Burt Road, and you're gonna leave it open as an axis, correct?
Yes, sir.
But you're not improving Burt Road. That's gonna be
No,
up to the
that's
city
not
of
ours.
Socorro at a future date,
Yes.
basically, whenever, okay. And then, just to be clear, you're not connecting sewer, right? You're connecting sewer into the development that's being developed right
Yes,
now.
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
I would be okay with it to answer a question.
I'm
We
fine
have to,
with
we
it.
have to open up.
Do we have to open up public?
It's been open.
It's been open.
Yes.
That's right.
Mr. Escobar
Okay.
was speaking under our public
Okay.
hearing.
Go ahead and go to the microphone and ask your question into the microphone.
Okay, since I tell you guys that this is a family and it's really peaceful right now, I don't think bringing a business right in front of my house is a good idea.
It's not gonna be a business.
Yeah, it is. It's an LLC. Their houses, they'll be renting like the other place that they built behind.
Yeah, there's a home apartment they just built, so if that street, if they go straight to next.
So,
So are you object to any, this kind of business coming right in front of my house? Because I don't need,
so are you talking about the business of developing the houses or like an actual commercial business open to the public?
their apartments.
Well, that's a different development. That's something else. We can't consider that in this vote.
Like, yeah, what we're looking at today is the 5 acres next to where you live, right?
Right in front of my house.
That's gonna be 18 single-family
Because
homes,
that
not
was-
apartments, and not duplexes. They're
All
single
the-
families.
All those houses were already set as a single family home unit, all those properties. That's why we moved there.
Understood. We do understand, and
Yeah.
that's what we're being asked to consider today, for rezoning to allow for a development like this.
Yes.
So-
Because you're living for so many years so peaceful, and then to start bringing more people to where there's barely space, it's just that dead end. We're right at the end. It's not even long, it's really short.
Sir, if you can, we'd appreciate it if you could speak into the microphone, sir.
I understand for the support improvement and everything, right? But I'm 6th generation, 7th generation, my kids, here in here in Socorro, and I guess I'll die here in Socorro, you know. I've been living here all my life, including with my great-great-grandfather, you know, father, everybody, you know. So with that said, I'm just saying, you know,
Bringing
18
so much-
homes, bringing more people, that's what I'm saying, more people, more traffic and everything. The street, we already have a problem with that Bird
People
Road.
that we don't know.
Let me tell you. We already had problems with Bird Road Street with a sewage system and everything. The water department is not doing anything about it. They just throw the ball back and forth. Also, there was on Middle Green, back of my property, there was a problem that happened. So I went and issued that to the water department. They threw the ball and sent me here to the city of Socorro. City of Socorro went and sent me to the, what is it, the other property over there where water runs. So they just had me like that, going in circles. And I went ahead and deal that problem myself, you know, without the city or any department helping me on that. So with that, I'm just saying there's gonna be more people, more problems, breaking into the houses, you know, that's what I'm looking at.
Mr. Ordonez, we completely understand where you're coming from. We're gonna try to answer your questions. I wanna close public comment, and we're gonna discuss this here in front of you guys, and then we're gonna try to answer your questions, and then we're gonna vote on it. Okay? Yeah.
Also, I have some other.
Public-
neighbors.
Yeah, we're gonna close public hearing so that we can move on.
Okay.
Okay.
So, Mr. Estrada, so just to make it clear, my interpretation of this, these are all residential R2 homes. I can definitely understand that there might be an argument to, hey, these were previously, the dream would be that there are R1s, 10,000 square feet, but it's actually currently agricultural, right? I don't think there's anything grown there currently. I don't think anything's been grown there in a long time. We can definitely appreciate and understand residents coming and asking these important questions. What happens is the landowners have the right to develop their land as they see fit, right? Unfortunately, state law will not allow us to decline a property based on traffic, on what the water district is doing or not doing. My interpretation of what's going to happen is that it's not going to add any burden to your current pipes. It's also not going to help. You're going to have the same situation, but that's something that property owners will have to fix with the pertinent what is it called? Yeah, well, I want to say water district or whatever. Oh yeah, authority. Yeah, I mean, we need the development. They're not asking for a single variance. They're not asking, they're going to have on-site ponding. There has to be at least 6,000 square feet. They're not asking for anything outside of the.
There's gonna be a brand new beautiful park about a block away from our house.
And so it's meeting all the requirements. I definitely, we always want to give residents the opportunity to speak their concerns. And we do take it to heart, especially anybody, I had to run out to pick up my little girl because she was in basketball and in theater. So if anybody understands anything happening to kids, it's us. But we do have to make these decisions about development, and I'm in favor of this development.
I'm sorry. Can you please close public hearing?
Yeah, we'll close public hearing at 7 p.m.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
Okay, so I wanna extend a courtesy, I guess, to Mr. and Mrs. Ordonez. Cesar, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I don't know if you remember, sir, but the last time I saw you was probably high school, 12th grade. Goes way back. Okay, so I appreciate that you're 6th generation, 7th generation here in Socorro, but what we're looking at today, we look at almost on a weekly, every 2 weeks. The nature of Socorro, the way that it is, the way that it was set up 30, 40 years ago and what it is now. Parcels like this, how long has it been vacant there, right? Forever. I mean, I don't know if there's ever been anything there. And so the highest and best use is that's a decision that we need to make for Socorro. So it's either gonna be single family apartments. We wouldn't have a warehouse here, we wouldn't have any commercial, right? But there has to be some type of development on this parcel and all the other parcels throughout Socorro. And so we need to make a decision on whether to approve something like this. And what we're looking at is, okay, do we leave it as agriculture, where it's gonna stay vacant? Or do we develop it in some way? And so that's a decision that we need to make. But I want you to know, because we go way back, right, that it's not just Burt Road, and it's across the city. Every 2 weeks, we're looking at something like this.
But does it have to be 18? Can it be lower than that?
That's what we need to decide here.
Okay.
That's what we need to decide.
I'm in favor of it. I'm ready to make a motion if nobody else has any questions.
No, I'm good.
Do I have a second?
I'd like to make a motion to approve as per staff recommendation.
Second.
I have a motion made by Enrique Cisneros, second by Julie Dominguez to approve with staff recommendation. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any nays?
Nay. Can I still make a comment? I mean, it already passed, but I want to make a comment to the public on this item. I just want to ask, when is it going up to city council?
Okay,
Yeah.
so I guess let's just
It
report that
already-
out, and then we can mention it.
Okay.
Any abstain?
Abstain.
Motion carried.
Okay. Regarding this last item, when is this going up to city council?
Should be going to council March 20th.
March 20th, okay, and the new round of letters will be sent out?
Yes, sir, correct.
Okay, so a new round of letters will be sent out to the public for the next meeting regarding this same item. So look out for the letter. Okay.
Sorry. Item number 11, Planning and Zoning Commissioners Report. Mr. Botella?
Good evening, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. No items to report.
Thank you. Item number 12, Planning and Zoning Department Report. I'm
So you did it
sorry.
backwards, but
I
that's okay.
switched backwards. I do
That's okay.
apologize about that. Commissioners Report.
So I just wanted to apologize that I got here late, and then we had a miscommunication with who's picking up who after school. And anyways, my apologies to staff, to the commissioners, and to the public. My apologies. Thank you.
I'd like to make just, Mr. Oteo, just if you can help us and guide us on the timeframes that we have, for example, like on that issue that we passed, right, for the A1, just to kind of guide us there on timeframes on when the deadline is for us to not be able to make any of those changes or whatnot.
Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
So I believe we have 2 weeks, 2 days until this item goes to council as an introduction for the agricultural portion, amending the ordinance. Typically, we have to submit, or items are submitted the Thursday prior, on the 27th. So as a hard deadline, I would say about a week, February 25th.
And that's something that, I'm sorry, that's something that we submit in writing, or we call here, or how does that work?
I believe it could be submitted in writing through email, through either Lorene or myself, so that we can begin to look at specifics that are being requested through the email.
And I have an item. On an item such as that, like we got today, there was a lot of reading to do on it. And some of us aren't very up to it as far as knowing, some of these changes that are coming on. Is there any way that staff, planning and zoning, would be able to give us that information? Give us a week, give us 2 weeks until the next one, to be able to come back and say, okay, we're gonna approve it. Is there a way to be able to communicate that information to us beforehand? And not like a drop in the bucket, let's read it and let's approve it today? Because that kind of puts us in the spot, not just for us, but for those that are wanting to get a response. And so I would like to see some communication come across maybe a week before and say, hey, you got literature, read it. Hey, we're gonna talk about it on the next meeting, so that at least we're a little bit better versed in what we need to do. Because like I told you earlier, I was like completely lost on the item.
And if, go ahead, sir.
And he's a
Sorry, don't
farm
want to
guy,
interrupt you guys.
you know?
Yeah, I was gonna add, so kind of the same rules that apply here also apply to the city councils, that really you're not supposed to have any outside deliberation on an item because everything's supposed to be in public, like transparent. So even if it was sent to you weeks ahead of time, because that's where the public says, oh, wait a minute, you found out before we did, and you guys have been talking about it, and then there's an issue of a walking forum, is that if you ask another commissioner, hey, what do you think about this thing? Did you read the email? Did you? So they kind of have to be careful, is that, this is our direction to the city, is that when they post an item and they, there's a public notice at least 3 days at a time, at that time they can provide the background materials, which are then provided, the packets and stuff that you can get. If you do it in advance, but there's no public hearing set, because it's not set usually until, this one was set on Friday, I think, right?
Right.
So you gotta wait until it's set. Now, you're right, you can take time to then deliberate and, hey, we can't make a decision, we don't
Right.
have, I understand that, but yeah, it's just that limitation is that you can't have access to information that the public is not, if it's given to you, then it needs to be given to the public. So like something on where the residents get notices,
Right.
they find out, they've gotta have advance notice, but you can't have something in advance that they don't have either. They found out when they came in here what's going on, right? So, because otherwise people will then question decisions. This is kind of just the general thinking of,
Yeah.
hey, wait a minute, you've known this for a month, how come you didn't tell the rest of Socorro what's going on? So it's kind of meant to put it all in the open, but you're right, I understand that you're making a snap decision
Right.
with things, but that, it's kind of meant to be, it's supposed to be presented out in the open at once, so everybody hears it, they ask the questions. You can table an item if you need to, if you need more time or you need some more information. So I think it's difficult, but city council really operates by the same way as well, is that they get it when they get it.
And I guess this was more just one of a kind issue because we couldn't table it.
Right.
Maybe if it comes to us again, being able to table it will give us that time that's needed. But on this one, it had to get like a decision because there was somebody depending on that decision at that moment. And because of government grants,
That's
something
right.
we didn't want to affect. But I don't know that on other cases, we might not be able to table it. If we table it, then I guess.
And to
it's
be
a good
honest,
outcome.
even as the attorney, I find out when you guys find out.
Yeah.
So when you said something about a federal grant, that was the first I heard of it, and that's why I said, wait, do you have a deadline? When is it? Is it like next week? I didn't know either, so I was like, I figured you guys wanna know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the ordinances, they do take more time, that's why like the rewrite is taking them, they had to hire a vendor to do this, it's taking over a year plus to do it, they're having these community meetings, all this stuff. So there's a thought process, but this particular one, I think because there's a hole, that's why I was like, oh, this needs to be filled. For instance, this property that was just here, this last item, it's agricultural. So what are the rules in place right now for it to do something?
Correct.
Technically, there's no rules, I think. I would argue you could do anything,
You could do anything.
right? You may not even need to rezone it, because what are the rules on an actual one?
And
There's
it would be,
nothing.
and it'd be grandfathered in.
Right, so now that they're moving to this, so now they have to then comply by the R2 or whatever.
So buy agricultural.
Yeah, I didn't want to give the developer any ideas, but I'm thinking. But he was here, right? He saw A1, he said, hey, there's no rules actually. So you can do whatever right now in agriculture. Right now, there's rules if you change it that you gotta comply, you gotta have the infrastructure, the sidewalks, all that stuff and square footage and everything, so. That's all I'm gonna say before I get myself in more trouble.
There you go.
Okay,
And that,
that's it.
okay, and that'll lead more, and we can discuss it while on Commission's report, and of course, I don't want to take anybody else's time. But as A1, since I have some A1 property, right, that's why it was very important to me as well. Why? Because, like we had mentioned, the burn permits. Secondly, what you can and cannot do. I was under, to what I knew and what I've been doing, you know, creating a lot of hay barns, and literally it's a free-for-all, and not really, but yes, really, because it's all used for agricultural, right?
Yeah.
Now, adopting these guidelines, technically agricultural land, right? It's out in the, it used to be out in the open. So having a, per se, here it said that the mobile home can only be from 2008 per se. A lot of the times you put the workers a mobile home there just to where they can live, some even live off of RVs. So trying to adopt all this right now for future land and with future plans that are gonna stay A1 is where it gets a little tricky, you know, because a lot of this farmland, we only go and set up a mobile home there or an RV while they're watering the land, but they don't live off of that RV.
temporary.
You know, it's temporarily while the watering season is there, and they, of course, they can't be driving back and forth. And I currently own land here that's A1 here in Socorro, so that's why I was like, wait a minute, you know,
Yeah.
there's a whole lot of difference there that maybe we have to restructure it. Plus, a lot of people wanting to buy A1 land to where they can have their animals, their chickens, and of course, to have it zoned A1 is because you have to be producing some type of crops. But at this point, if you herd sheep or if you grow eggs, you're considered a farmer. You can actually get a timber ag number and now go register it as an A1 property for a tax exemption. So, I mean, it leaves a lot of stuff out there in the blank that if you're literally growing chicken eggs off of 2 hens, you're considered a producer now at that point. You know, if you're raising showbirds or if you're raising whatever it is, like there's a lot of guidelines when it comes to that. So that's why it was just a very hard one just to literally go up and accept. And I know there's some kind of developments coming up for A1, so it's something that we definitely have to retouch. I'm all in favor for the agriculture. I do it myself. It's something I definitely don't want to see die. So that's why the more we can protect the farmers, the better.
Yeah, I think this is why I said I think you're probably the expert on it, because man, you lost me. But but I think city council, I mean, they should know that even with these, what's been proposed is, I get what you're saying, that there's actually a lot of missing items that they still need to consider additionally. So if you can't make it to city council, or you're not able to speak, I would at least send maybe an email or something to Mr. Botea and let him know. Also, as a resident, you can say, hey, by the way, you guys are missing X, Y, and Z. These are main points that you consider it. So that way city council, when it looks at it next time, will say, wait a minute, there's some things here, let's rewrite some portions of this. They can add more to it, they can take it out, they can change the acreage. I think you guys had some of the language in there already.
Yeah,
but
and
it's a complicated, because it almost sounds like there's a lot more things they need.
a lot more. So I'll put up another example there. When it comes to water wells, a 30-foot or less residential well can be used in an A1 land. And don't quote me on this, right? Don't mark my words. But per se, if you have animals out in an A1 land that has no services, you're able to create a well, because how are you going to tend water to them? You know, so, and then you run it off of a generator. You don't need the electricity. So there's a lot of things like that need to get added and looked at in order to protect those A1s for those usages. That's why when he said, well, I totally understand where he's coming from. And he made a big point where it was saline water and he's trying to convert it to be able to use it, because that's the least thing we have right now, which is water.
Right.
You know, so that's a very important subject to touch.
I think that, Mr. Berthea, on the code rewrite, they are putting in an A1, right? Or is that, or we're trying to fill it in the meantime? Is it just for this year, or is it?
Correct. So that's right, Marwan. It's something that's been long overdue. You know, like I mentioned, I don't know when, at what point, at what year, this section of the
Fell off.
Yeah, and it's not on there. So I mean, we don't have a reference to anything for agricultural. So it's been a missing component that needs to be added back on the zoning chapter. And your input, your knowledge would be greatly appreciated with this unified code development rewrite. Right. So all this information that you're providing is important to help us have a clearly articulated section for agricultural properties. Right. I mean, you understand it very well. So I would encourage you to attend the meetings whenever You know, we have meetings with the stakeholders so that you're able to voice these decisions and recommendations for the Unified Development Code rewrite.
And real quick, you can reach out to Rudy as mayor and Gina as your rep. And I would give them a list of, hey, this is what I need.
Yeah,
A,
yeah,
B,
yeah,
C, D,
definitely. Yeah, yeah.
and then they'll present
from
it.
there.
Yeah, that's how we would do it.
So,
Yeah. So just to let the public know, unfortunately, the public part is over. But if you have questions, I'm sure
We
we'd
can
be happy to,
answer 'em right after.
once this is closed.
I have one question.
I'm
So,
sorry.
no, we have to close it, and then we
Yeah.
can answer some questions.
Yeah.
If you want to wait for us or whatever, we can answer some questions.
So what does he mean by saying agriculture? You can do whatever you want, but it's agriculture.
we'll answer all those questions after we're done with this.
Okay. Okay.
Is it okay? You want to adjourn the meeting?
Yes.
Like to make a motion to
Okay.
adjourn?
Item number 13, consider and take action on the adjournment of this meeting. Do you have a motion?
Make the motion.
I second.
I have a motion made by Julie Dominguez, second by Andrew Arroyos to adjourn. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstain? Motion carried, meeting adjourned at 7:17 PM. Thank you.
Thank you.